Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. Welcome, welcome. We are going to talk about something just a little bit different, which is something we've been trying to do recently on our podcast, is do something that's more practical, a little more pragmatic about how do you actually utilize artificial intelligence. One of the things that we are going to talk about is school districts and businesses and what they are getting wrong when they actually buy or go to buy an AI tool or an AI program. That's what we're going to talk about. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I mean, I'm the one who pushed the pragmatic thing. One week we talked with about personal health with Rachel. We had Rachel to talk about the things she's doing as before, during, and after pregnancy when it came to utilizing AI. Then last week we talked about religion because the stuff we had done where we'd gone to church and all that other stuff.
Correct. Practical applications
Yes.
of artificial intelligence in your actual environment.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things, and I'm going to ask you some pretty pointed questions,
Hmm.
but one of the things that I think happens in school districts and in businesses is they confuse a practical application with something else. So let's kind of get into this.
Okay.
What's the first thing, if I'm a district or I am a business and I am looking for something artificial intelligence wise
Hmm.
to help me, where do I have to start?
Knowing what the problem is. Most of the time, what you have is a solution looking for a problem. And you have a vendor that comes in and they show you something, and it looks like it solves a problem that somehow in your mind you think is a problem. I remember years ago, I had a teacher that approached me because she wanted to get an interactive board. And so I said, okay, these things are expensive. I said, okay, let's talk about what you're going to use it for. And we talked and we talked, and it all boiled down to a one specific application that she wanted. So she had not clearly figured out what she was going to do with that board. You have the same problem with the tools that allow teachers to monitor classrooms.
Yes.
The teachers have a problem, and in their case, they can articulate what they think the problem is, but the administration disagrees with them. So they can't even agree
Or
on what the problem is that that particular product solves.
or the problem, and having been in the classroom for a long time, I will tell you that when you have 20 to 25 kids in one room, you can have one or two students that are the problem,
And they
and you're looking for a solution for those two
You don't
students,
realize that
and
it's
you don't realize that it's just those two.
That's true. I've actually seen that too. So I
Okay.
agree with you. So
So,
I put a quote in here that I really wanted you to use because I
okay.
really like this. When you start talking about problems,
Yes.
because I talked about, I was trying to make some notes, and I mentioned a second ago, solution looking for a problem, cart before the horse. Most of the time, if it's an unclear problem, then you have no idea if you've even solved it.
Right. So Quigley Down
I
Under,
love
I
that
actually
movie.
died
Love that
laughing.
movie. I love that movie.
Okay, so Jim shares his notes with me. And it's because I told him, I said, hey, this is your time. This is your 30 minutes for you to do the brain dump, for you to talk about what you want to talk about. And so he takes it and he shares his notes with me. So this is the quote that I read just a few minutes ago when I was kind of going over everything. Quigley Down Under,
I'm selling.
Tom Selleck. There's a famous quote: I don't know where I am going, but I don't want to be late.
Yeah, it was when him and her were lost out in the wilderness.
And
They were
she
on the
kept
horse.
asking him.
I'm pretty sure I got the quote right. That was from
Yeah,
memory. I
she
didn't.
kept asking him, "Do you know where we're at?" He's like, "Yep." "Do you know where we're at?" And he's like, "Yep."
Well,
So,
first he said, "I have no idea," and she
and
goes,
always,
"That's not what I want to
yeah,
hear." And
yeah,
so then he goes, "Oh yeah, no problem, no." And then that's what he said. I may be paraphrasing a little bit because I was doing it from memory, but I really love that quote.
yeah. And it's
Anyway.
true. I think that is a problem that you have in businesses, and it's a problem that you have in school districts,
Mhm.
is that we get inundated with vendors and with sales propaganda and just especially after a teacher or a group of people go to a conference and they come back with
Mhm.
all of these solutions to these problems. And it even happens now in our district to where we're like, oh, you purchased a program
Mhm.
that you didn't tell us that you were purchasing. And guess what? We already have a program that
Yeah.
does exactly the same thing.
The thing is that before we move on, the problems we're talking about, you mentioned earlier, it's a businesses and districts. We focus on school districts because that's where we work.
Right.
But I worked a long time in the private sector. This is not a K-12 problem
No,
specifically. This is
no,
a problem. We was with one company that we almost sunk the company with a new product because the CEO of the company had decided that this new thing was going to be the answer to everything. But what he didn't do was talk to the people in accounting and in purchasing and in shipping and all that stuff to figure out how it was going to integrate in because it was going to replace the core piece of software in the company. When we tried to integrate it in, we almost bankrupted the company
because it broke everything when you
because you
during the
couldn't get the
integration?
integration to work.
Mm.
We ended up finally backing the whole thing out, getting our money back. We ended up suing the company. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it was a big deal. And for us, this was a lot because, we weren't a huge company at the time. But again, if you don't know what problem you're solving, you're certainly not going to know when you get it solved.
So I just did a training for a large city.
Hmm.
And the city that I did the training, I just did like an AI 101 crash course kind of
Sure.
training.
And you didn't
But
invite me
there was
there. Okay.
somebody there that was talking about what this large city is doing with artificial intelligence.
Hmm.
And the number one thing that I noticed was that they were kind of doing the same thing. They had purchased the one thing they did that I appreciated is they piloted it. They purchased like 80 licenses to a subscription service, and they gave it to 80 employees,
Hmm.
and
Which
the
they cherry picked.
which they cherry picked,
Hmm.
which was really funny because there were actually several city employees in the training that I was doing. And one of the city employees was like, "This is the first I've heard of this."
Yeah.
So it's that lack of communication, that lack of widespread communication
What you
about
think
what's
is
doing
happening may not be happening.
might not be happening.
Yeah.
But they were really just looking at efficiency.
Yeah.
And
We
we've
talked about
talked about this a lot. I mean, and yes, it did make some people more efficient. It made them faster at doing some things.
that. Hmm.
But really, it's when you start using it for that opportunity piece, that stuff you normally would not do in your day to day job, that's where you're going to find that AI can do the most. The next thing that I've noticed is that a lot of times a product is getting sold to you because of a specific feature that
And
the product
in this
has.
case, AI. How many times have we seen AI these days?
Everything.
AI inside. Remember the old commercials, Intel inside? Well,
Yes.
now it's AI inside.
So,
We had a product that we were getting for a security camera product that literally never mentioned AI. The product didn't change, but the name did.
right.
It all of a sudden had AI. As soon as large language models
Marketing.
came out, it became part of the marketing. So just because that feature's there doesn't mean you pay for the product for that feature.
Not always the solution that you
Not
need to
always
look
the
for.
solution.
Not always the solution you need to look for. I mean, quite often it's overkill.
Mhm.
It's something that actually doesn't get utilized.
It doesn't get utilized the way you think it's going to get utilized. The thing that I learned the hard way first came to the district, and I've learned it in small companies. One of the companies that I work for, my job was to specify one aspect. We had a product, and it was an integrated product. We had software and hardware. My job was to specify the software, the user interface piece in the software. So I would go and instead of just guessing or doing a marketing survey, I would actually go to potential customers and sit and watch. I would give them free product to use. Then I would sit and watch them. And I would come back, and most of the time, the software developers would go, well, tell them not to do that. They shouldn't use it that way. If they were doing something that, didn't work right or didn't whatever, or a feature that needed to be added or taken away or whatever. One particular case, because we were doing fingerprint sensors, one particular case, they told us they wanted to have them re-enroll all the people in the system.
That was at a
It
hospital,
was at a
wasn't it?
hospital. I said, "You can't do that." And so I took one of the developers and we went to the hospital. It was a huge hospital, or I think it was in Michigan or somewhere. We went up there, and once they sat and saw what they had to go through to enroll people, the developer's like, "Oh, that's not going to work at all." And it wouldn't have because hospitals open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, but not every doctor's there.
Right.
So the problem became untenable. And again, it'd been sold to the hospital for a particular feature, which in this case was efficiency feature,
Right. It's
just
where you can just
logging in.
just put your finger down.
But they realized they wanted to use it for more than that once they got it there. And in the process of doing that, the features that we already had weren't sufficient.
Mhm.
So we had to look at it. Anyway, again, efficiency gains are great and
Yes.
they're important.
Well, something that I noticed whenever I was doing the training and several of the slides that had gotten put up there about how much time they had saved
Oh, yeah, people
was like,
love talking about that.
it was like an average of 4.5 hours a week, which they had then, computed the amount of money and salaries and stuff they had been able to save.
And so they let those employees do nothing during those 4 hours because 'cause they'd saved that problem? They'd saved
Exactly.
it?
And so this is my
Yeah.
cynical side coming out. And
Well,
and
it's everybody's
okay, now
cynical
now hang
side coming
on.
out.
The reason I'm pointing this out is again, I'm gonna kind of go back to education. I have the book that I wrote that is out there and doing very well. Thank you very much.
What was that book called
It's
again?
called Teachers Have Bigger Fish to
No,
Fry.
we're putting in a plug for it.
Um, so
And it can be
you
bought
can get
where?
on
Where
Amazon.
we go?
Um, Teachers Have Bigger Fish to Fry, literally, it's a collection of stories, but it's something people don't understand. It's like what you were just saying with that hospital, in that they're like, okay, here's your solution, but they don't actually know what the problem is. Just like what we just said. Well, if you take a solution and you put it into a classroom, that teacher might not be able to figure out how to use that solution very easily. That solution might not be a one size fits all solution because one of her classes could have a totally different dynamic than the
Mhm.
next class, and so,
Well, and the good news is for teachers and for everybody in K-12 and in business is that once you get that efficiency gain, you have a lot of free time on your hands
oh God,
because,
yes.
you've
Okay, that's
got
sarcasm right there.
that was sarcasm.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody knows that if you're in the corporate world and you're in K-12, everybody knows that that's the code phrase for great.
Now
Now
let's
you can
add
do
more
more. We
duties,
we can you can do more with less.
more
I mean,
duties as
I,
assigned.
I have you and I have asked this many times because we've talked to a lot of technology departments, and our first sarcastic statement we generally make is, "So how many of you are have too much staff and
Hmm.
not enough to do?"
Hmm.
And it sounds dumb when you say it, but in reality, there's this perception that, okay, well, you can just get that done, right? And so efficiency gains are great as long as you get to then take that efficiency
And do
gain
something meaningful
and when
with
you're
it.
doing something that you know in your department is
Right.
meaningful and not a new task that somebody assigns to you that you didn't even have before,
That you're not getting paid
or
extra to do.
or you are already understaffed and all that efficiency gain does is get you one little tick mark closer to actually having the correct staffing level,
And you don't
which
get another person hired.
and you don't get another person hired. I mean, I lost 2 people because we couldn't afford them, and
What did I
sure,
tell you a long time ago about your job? I've been telling you this. We have been
you
together
don't know how hard it
for
is?
our audience who hasn't really listened to us before. We were basically high school sweethearts. We've been together for
2.
42 years,
That's correct.
married for almost 40. Well,
Okay.
no, 39. We're in our 39th year.
Okay, 39th year.
Um, you make things look too easy. And it's one of those things that smart people, I'm complimenting you, by the way.
Alright.
You'll have it
I
on
gotta say
it's
this
on
is
the air.
actually
You
on the
can
air.
go back and
This is
listen
a
to it.
I'm gonna go watch this. I'm
Um,
gonna put it on loop and watch it.
Smart people tend to make things look easy, and that it is easy for you, but it,
Mhm.
it might not be easy for the person who's deciding if you can hire more people in your department.
Yes.
And so if you make it look too easy with those efficiency gains and all that stuff that artificial intelligence is helping you do, then it might just come back and bite you in the butt.
Yeah, it typically does because people don't realize that sometimes that inefficiency that's built in, that slop that's built in is actually quite necessary
Mhm.
because you have to have time to contemplate problem. You have to have time to deal with employees that are gonna be out or sick and, AI and
Solutions.
stress test solutions and anyway, so point of that is that don't think just because that's a feature that it solves all your problems because it may not.
Let's talk about that for a second. The next thing I wanted to kind of talk about was
Mhm,
those features that are getting pushed
mhm,
and all of these Hollywood style demonstrations where these vendors are coming in and they're giving you these demos of these products that are literally, okay, it's going to make your coffee for you every day, or whatever they've come up
mhm.
with to make this like shine, that that might not be the daily value that you are looking for. And then
Well,
you tend to like get narrowly focused on what they have shown you because
you
they've
get tunnel
shown
vision.
you,
You get tunnel
yeah,
vision.
you get this tunnel vision because they've shown you what they know you probably want to see. And then you stop thinking about the depth and the breadth of the actual daily value of what you're trying to put
what
in
you
your
do
system.
every day. I mean, because you have to integrate it into your system. Um, a good example I saw, and then I'll tell you another thing that I saw today, but a good example I saw of that was the on-stage demos. Bill Gates was a good example, and then Steve Jobs as well, but Bill Gates. I had read once, I don't know if it's true, I'm not Bill Gates, but I had read that he traveled with an ensemble of about 12 people whose sole purpose in life was to make sure his onstage demos worked. They had backup servers, PCs running,
Mhm,
with the same exact thing that
mhm.
was mirroring the original
Well,
one.
I mean,
So something went out.
you don't want that type of a technology issue happening for Bill Gates.
I know, but
How embarrassing would that be?
how problematic is it for a teacher when they have their whole lesson plan and that great demo product doesn't exactly work the way they claimed it was?
Exactly.
And they don't have a 12-person staff that's standing by just to make sure that what they're presenting that particular day.
They have 5 work orders in front of them, you
No,
know?
that's the IT staff. I'm talking about the teacher
Well, I'm talking about
themselves.
the teacher puts in the work order and it's
Oh,
like,
that's
"Oh,
true.
5 days until they get to me."
That's true.
And
Well, we don't.
no, I am exaggerating. I'm
For us, you are.
exaggerating,
Now, there may be
but
places that you're not exaggerating. For
I'm
us,
sure, but
we are actually staffed fairly well. We're a little understaffed, but we're staffed fairly well. I have talk to people in technology departments and IT departments that have one person,
right.
and they have school districts that are not that much smaller than us, and it's like, what do you do when you get behind? We stay behind.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
do
it's
when it's not
sad.
working? It just
Talk
doesn't
about
work. I've talked to school districts that their average work order time is a month.
okay, so
But
let's
this is
talk about
also companies too. This isn't just
it
school districts.
and then how do you have a work-life balance when you do that? There isn't
Well,
one. We know a technology director right now that even though he's at a smaller district, he does everything.
yeah,
And how often have we heard him working on the weekends or working in the evenings, doing something for the school district he's at
yeah,
because he feels like his obligation, but there is no work-life balance there. And
that's true.
it's
That's true.
sad. It's sad.
Anyway, so
The next thing I wanted to mention though is
mhm,
you we were at the ASU GSV Summit in San Diego about this time last year.
yeah,
And remember the person from Apple that was giving a demonstration on the stage and they could not get their device to connect.
I don't remember that.
I do. Because you were just talking about Bill Gates and how he didn't, he had the 12 people who could, and the guy was very frustrated. And I could see
Oh, I
why.
do remember that. He was
He,
like one of the
he was one
pseudo
of the
keynote
keynote
speakers.
speakers and he could not get his technology to work. And
He
I'm
was
like,
very frustrated.
here we're at a huge technology conference with all of these really great people,
Well,
and
he
this is a
wasn't the
very
CEO
big
though.
company. No, no, he wasn't that,
That's why he didn't have 12 people though.
but
That's my
still,
point. He didn't have an entourage
yeah.
that came with him.
So
How many
let's.
times have we been there and we've been presenting and I'm generally your tech guy
You're the engineer.
and we've had issues where we had to ad lib, make do, that kind of stuff. Luckily, you're like a bullhorn when you talk, so usually it's a microphone problem,
I
and
can do smoke and mirrors while
well,
you're
you don't
figuring
need
it out.
microphones typically because you're so loud.
So what do we do? Let's talk about that for a second. So we're at Llano Independent School District,
Mhm,
small district,
mm.
4A, 3A,
It depends on what year.
depends on what year. How do we solve this problem? If we were looking right now, we're like, okay, school districts and businesses are getting this wrong when they're looking at buying artificial
So how do
intelligence
they get it
stuff.
right?
How do they get it right? I mean, we've told them how they're getting it wrong. And I'm going to reiterate real quick. They're getting it wrong because they don't know the actual problem that they're looking for a solution to. Okay.
Okay,
They're not clearly defining the scope of the problem.
okay. I'm going to tell you how I did it.
Okay, hold on. The next thing that they're doing is they're finding a feature that they think is kind of cool and they're buying a product because of a specific feature and that feature might not have any actual value to them.
To the person that's actually supposedly going to use the
Right.
feature. I'm going to tell you because I've been doing this way a long, long time.
Mm,
When you and I started I hired you to work for a company that I was the chief operations officer for.
yes.
It was a reasonably decent sized company. I think we had about maybe 100 employees kind of thing.
Yeah.
What did I do when I hired you? Well, I hired you as a consultant to start with. And what did I do?
You put me in a department and said, fix it.
Now I put you in every department.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You started out by putting me in a department
But
and
your
you said,
goal
fix it.
was you did not walk in there with the mentality of fixing anything.
Yeah.
You walked in there with the mentality of, I'm going to work here.
I'm gonna make it more efficient.
No, you didn't even do that.
Oh, I didn't.
No, you went in there with the idea though, I'm going to do the job. Every place I put you, you went into shipping, you went into purchasing, you went into
Customer
to customer
service,
service, and you just literally sat there for a week or two
doing the job.
and you just did the job. You weren't like a typical consultant where you came in and observed.
No, no,
You
I did
answered
it.
the phones,
Mhm.
you shipped out packages, you did
Mop the floors.
returns, you did every single job in every single department you went into.
Yes.
But
Sales,
sales, you sat on the
all
sales
of it.
floor and took calls, and each time you looked at it and said, "How can we do this better?" That's when you started worrying about efficiency. You didn't tell people you're inefficient. You didn't fill out a form, you didn't do an interview. That's how they typically do it.
Mhm.
You went in there and actually did the job. I
Mhm.
think that's missing in a lot of, and I know that's easier said than done, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
missing in a lot of places. At the school district, give you an example of what we did. When we started talking about putting in Chromebooks, we weren't looking for Chromebooks. We were looking for portable devices.
Correct.
So I bought, or mostly I just got people to loan me Chromebooks, laptops, Apple tablets,
Anything portable.
anything portable. And we put them in a classroom with a bunch of shelves.
Yes,
And the teacher told the kids when they came in for about a week or two,
at least.
pick the devices, pick your device and sit down with it. We're going to do the class.
Right. Basically, we had like 7 or 8 devices in that room, different types of devices, and she would
We
say,
had
you
20,
know
we had 20 something devices, but they were 7 or 8 different types of
right,
devices.
and the kids would walk in and she would say,
Yes.
"Okay, first one back there, grab what you want off the shelf." She
Yes.
didn't assign them to anybody, she just
That's
let
correct.
them pick.
And what we found out from that feature set was everybody grabbed apples the first day, the tablets and all that stuff. But by the fourth or fifth day, they started realizing it's really not a great device for me to use in this class. So eventually they started migrating first toward touch devices like laptop kind of things. Then they migrated toward the Chromebooks. Why did they use the Chromebooks? Because they could turn them on and they were booted up in 7 seconds or
Right,
less,
right.
which is a magic number apparently in education, as we
Mhm,
found out.
mhm.
So every time we've piloted something, we don't just set it there or talk to the teacher or get a group and study together. We put it in there and we tell them, look, use this thing. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you
Right.
don't like. And I know that takes time and I know it's hard, but it's a very human way of doing it. We've piloted everything that way.
Mhm.
We've had Chromebooks now for 8, 9, 10 years,
Oh, at
and
least.
it went through COVID. It's been a very successful
We
program.
were ready day 1. As
We
soon as they closed us down, kids were online.
we did the same thing we put in years ago before Chromebooks. We put in interactive boards. How did we do that?
Well, that was actually funny. We adopted the classroom, and I know we've told the story before, but we adopted the classroom. We put in went in and observed her, and we put in a board. And the board that we put in lost its calibration when
Like
the air
all the boards
conditioner
did.
comes on.
Like all boards did
Yeah,
at
like
that
the
time.
AC vent was too close to the actual board. And so when the AC would come on, it would do just a little bit of a vibration and it would lose calibration.
Mhm,
And then we sat there in that classroom and watched her have to turn her back to the class and
mhm.
point the dot,
And it
touch all the
dies
dots on the
to
interactive board
recalibrate it,
to recalibrate it. And it takes 7 seconds to lose a seventh grade class.
and
And
10
it
minutes to
takes
get it back.
10 minutes to get them back. Once they're
So,
lost, it
the
takes 10
big
minutes.
feature for all the interactive boards, the big feature was
Calibration from the
at one, you
remote.
could press the button and it put a pattern on the screen and recalibrate it.
Yes.
Recently, jump to now, I
Yes.
started looking at, interactive boards,
Panels.
interactive
Boards.
panels. We went through 3, 4, 5 different vendors,
Yes, we did.
and we piloted them. We as part of our mobile classroom initiative,
Mhm.
where we wanted teachers to have a reconfigurable classroom, and we went through a whole bunch of them. And the littlest features, the teachers didn't like it.
Right.
And we could tell, so those ones we bought some of them, some we had on loan, but we ended up moving the ones they didn't like as just
Conference rooms and
conference
stuff like that.
rooms, or we put them in libraries,
Right.
and we settled on what we have now, which is the BenQ.
Mhm.
Put a plug in for Norma because she worked through
Amazing person.
she worked through all the stuff that we needed and got us, instead of trying to tell us what we needed, she listened and got us what we wanted.
Took our feedback, went back to her software
Yep.
people and
We
really
worked
did.
with
Yes.
their teams and we figured out what the problems were. They made some tweaks in their firmware. The point is that it worked exactly what we needed it to do.
Right.
And now the program, I mean, starting
Well,
now it's looking good.
unfortunately, the program is now we just put one in a classroom today,
We did.
And we
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 just put
it
8
was
in
so much
a week
fun. I
ago.
mean, I love it. I feel like I'm like Santa Claus, I'm taken because
They
they're
treat you
always
they treat you
oh,
like
they're
that.
so excited when they say that they're gonna get, picked for this pilot because
Mhm.
that's a thing in a district, and you're gonna notice it in a small business too. As soon as one person has it, the next person's gonna want it.
I like growing things I call it organic growth
Right,
because if you get one person excited, you now have an evangelist.
right.
Because at the end of the day, the little things matter, and evangelists will help you work through the things that aren't, that
Well,
cause a little bit of friction points
yes, the
that they wanna get through
classroom
it.
the classroom we put it in today,
Yeah,
the 2, 3 other classrooms on the campus that have the same technology that have had it for a while, they're all like their own little club now, and they're like, "Oh, we'll go help her, we'll go help her." So, yes, they definitely, like, all stick together. But something that we have learned is that if you get something new into your department, these teachers and your employees will go back to what they are familiar with
yes.
every single time.
So you
And
have to remove it,
you have to remove what they're used to. And it's
and
the
it's
same,
unpopular.
it's very unpopular. What we have done is we don't put it in unless they understand if we do put this in, you are going to be using technology piece A, technology piece B. We're going to be pulling it out of your classroom because then we
Yeah.
can redistribute it to somewhere else. Otherwise, you end up with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of technology sitting there in a classroom.
Yeah, we've had some unsuccessful pilots before where we rolled it out too fast. It went from being a pilot to being rolled out
Right.
because somebody saw it
Hmm.
and decided that they needed it everywhere.
Right. And then
I
all of a
mean,
sudden the school board's like, give it to everybody. And we're like, no,
so
don't do that.
before we run out of time, let's talk about AI
Hmm.
because that's what we do.
Hmm.
How did we do AI? The first version of Agnes we rolled out. It really wasn't. It was a pilot, but it wasn't well received.
Right.
And so I went back and instead of redoing the whole thing from scratch, I went and I started to bring together tools that were already built and then doing some levels of customization that it allowed. These were open source tools. And so we created the next version of it and we piloted it.
Hmm.
And
All school year last year.
all the school and we had some very good feedback.
Yes.
Since then, I've added other features to it. But what we found out is that some people, first of all, if you put 20 people on it,
Five.
everyone will use it to start with.
Right. And then it trickles down to five.
But then it starts narrowing down in a hurry.
Hmm.
And percentage wise, you're going to have this initial everybody loves it thing. Like we added a whole bunch of people all at once in February. Our usage rate, we went up, we used 98 million tokens in February,
Correct.
and our normal usage is nowhere near that. By April, probably March actually,
Right.
mid-March, it had dropped back down to normal. Percentage-wise, we don't have a huge number of people using it.
Right. So let's talk about that for a second, because that's also something that I noticed that the city that I was training
Mhm.
yesterday had mentioned a subscription based service. So let's do the math real quick. I've got my handy dandy pen here,
Okay,
and I used to do fifth grade math, so does not get too complicated.
okay.
If I have 140 people that we currently have on our AI Agnes pilot,
Mhm.
140 users.
542 as of today.
Well, 140 is an even number, so we're going to round down.
Okay.
If I have 140 and I'm paying a $20 a month subscription for something like a Chat GPT or a Gemini or
Even if it's
whatever,
$20 per year per person, you're
it,
still talking about, a hundred, even if it's 100
you're
people.
talking about $2,800.
Yes,
So, and that is a monthly amount.
I know.
So I am paying $2,800 a month for a subscription service that we decided that about a fourth of the people might use it after the first month. It's like a gym membership,
Percentage is actually smaller than
probably
4.
smaller than a
It
fourth.
is.
Okay, say 10%. So let's say 14 people are using it. So 14 people for $2,800 a month. That's too much money for any district or any small business to sustain. You just
You know what's
can't.
funny about it is that if you continue working with people, if you truly have a well-articulated problem and you continue working with people, which is what we've done, the number starts growing back up again,
Yes, it does.
where you're like, okay, it had this initial spike, everybody's using it, it dropped down to a very low number,
Hmm.
and now it starts building back
It
up
does.
again.
It
And it
does.
does. The users that are hardcore users become evangelists,
Hmm.
but meanwhile, you're not paying that huge amount of money for people not using it. Maybe it's the wrong tool completely. The current incarnation of Agnes allows us to use any large language model we want.
I want you to repeat that. Any large language model we
Yeah,
want.
and there's
And we can use multiple large language models. They can pick.
we let them we treat them as adults. There's a drop down. They know the cost difference. We did that as part of the training. There's a drop down that lets them select which language model. We give them, this one has this, stronger at this one's stronger at this. And so we do that because, again, we want
Options.
to give them options, treat them as professional.
Mhm.
And that's the last piece before we wrap up. If you don't trust the people that work for you, that you're giving these AI tools to use them well
Mhm.
professionally,
Mhm.
then maybe you need to think about getting new people.
Or maybe you need to think about getting us in for training to do some AI literacy training
Yeah, but
because,
again, if you
you gotta
can't trust,
trust that they're not gonna give information.
yeah, well,
I'm
that
gonna
part
ask
isn't
you though,
true. That's
how much you said that whenever they all got on it at once and we
mhm,
used all those tokens, what was our bill that month?
$11.
$11.
Yeah, that was the highest month we've ever had. It was $11.
Really?
Yeah,
For 140 people.
yes.
That
The
right
whole
there,
year.
that right there is why these companies don't need to be looking at the demos that these companies are
Yes.
given. They don't need to be looking at all the, Hollywood style features. They need to be going and they need to be talking to us about how to get API connections through an open source
Or just
tool.
let us teach you how to do pilots. Let us help you figure out how to work on this problem in a way that actually makes sense for your use case. And our experience is based on us actually doing it, not just in school districts. I mean, I worked in biometrics companies. We did that. And I put the company that I talked about that you went from department to department. That was a company that
Macintosh
sold
Computer
Macintosh
Company.
computer company,
Hmm.
resellers. So the different experience that we have, I think, brings the value to understanding where you've got to go with these pilots,
I
where
agree.
you've got to go to figure out what people are going to use and what they're not going to use. But you have to be willing to accept the changes that people think you need,
Hmm.
as long as what they're asking for still moves you toward that goal you should have articulated early on.
Correct.
So, did we cover it all?
I think we covered it all. I
Okay.
really do. I think we did a good job. So, districts, businesses, they get it wrong. They need to define their problem before they go looking for a solution. You got to figure out what it is you're trying to solve.
Yep.
You need to always don't fall into the feature issue.
Yeah, the future
Happened
trap.
to me when I went to look for a new car. They
Hmm.
never want to show you anything about the car except for, hey, this is a cool feature. And then you get wrapped around the fact that, oh, it's got heated seats. And
Hmm.
then that's it. They know they got you. They
Yep.
hooked you.
I hooked you on
Heated
that one
seats.
feature
I'm
you
going to walk
love.
out. I'm going to pay that extra $50 a
Yeah.
month on my car payment
And now it's
because I
got
got
AI
heated
to
seats.
figure out that feature is
Yeah.
faster.
Um,
They'll hook you.
Whenever somebody's giving you a demo, this is something that I like to do, and it really, really irritates them. If I get ready to switch, or I'm thinking I might be switching from a product we currently have in use to another product, because a lot of times, software as a service, the yearly bill goes up
Absolutely.
every single year. And so after a while, I'm like, okay, I've hit my threshold.
Have to switch.
This is my pain point right
Yeah,
here.
I agree.
But I look at everything that old vendor did for me
Mhm.
and I write down all of the stuff that it can and cannot do. And then whenever the people are giving me the demo of what they want me to replace it with, I'm like, well, how do you handle this?
If
Or
those
can
are
you do
important to
that?
what you
Or,
write down is what's important to you
well,
that you remember.
I got to look at apples to apples too.
No, I agree with that, but every ever they're not going to have the exact same features the exact same way
No,
as the other vendor.
no,
Anyway, we're out of time.
we are. Okay. Sorry about that. My name is Mari. I'm here with my husband, Jim. Thank you guys so much for listening in to AI in Action. We have a busy week coming up. Our son is getting married on Saturday.
Is
Got to say that.
Mhm.
You're lucky that we got the podcast done this week because mama is very stressed. So we hope that you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.